Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin and you're watching Likeable Cocktails. Welcome back to another edition of Classic Concepts, where we take a classic cocktail or a modern day classic cocktail, give it a spin and make it our own. Now on today's episode, we are going to be taking the whiskey sour that transformed into the New York sour, and now we're going to take it one step further and turn it into a Sangria Sour. Now the New York Sour is one of those fantastic cocktails that you already have a great base with the whiskey sour, and you've added just a red wine float that sits on top. So when you're sipping the cocktail, you get the delicious whiskey sour coming through to the top, right through the red wine, which makes it a touch more tannic and a touch more dry on the palate. So I want to take that idea of the New York Sour and switch it into what I'm calling the Sangria Sour. So we're going to change a couple of the elements in this cocktail to make it our own. Now to get started with our whiskey sour, we have to select our spirit. Now you could go with a rye whiskey, you could go with an American whiskey, a Scotch whiskey, a bourbon. It's really your preference. Well, for this cocktail today, I'm gonna go for a rye because rye has a bit more of a zip to it. It's got a spicy finish that I really want to bring out in this cocktail. So let's take our shaker tins. Again, if you don't have a set at home, a mason jar will work just fine. And I'm going to do 2 full ounces of bullet rye. Now to start changing this cocktail just slightly, instead of just using a basic simple syrup for this drink, I'm switching it up to something that I'm calling a Sangria Syrup. This is super easy to make, and I will link it down below in the comment section, all the ingredients and what you need to make this Sangria Syrup. But basically, what it is a triple berry frozen mix that I use for my smoothies at home. I take about a cup of that with a half a cup of orange juice, a full cup of water, a full cup of sugar, and I simmer it down on a pot on the stove to create kind of this flavored simple syrup. All the flavors that you would find in kind of a sangria base. So for this and our Sangria Sour, I'm going to be using just over a half of an ounce. Next up, in our sour style cocktail, we definitely need some citrus. Now I'm gonna keep it simple and basic here, just like you would in your whiskey sour or your New York sour. I'm going to be using lemon juice. So I have juiced out some lemons here, and I'm gonna be using 3/4 of an ounce into my shaker tin. Now these 3 elements can be adjusted to your preference. So whether you like your cocktail a little bit sweeter, just add a touch more of your Sangria Syrup. If you like it a little more tart, add a touch more of your lemon juice. It's really about personal preference when it comes to making cocktails at home. Now to tie this all together, we are going to be adding an egg white to this cocktail. Now the egg white is always optional in a sour style cocktail like this, but I think this is really going to tie this whole drink together, and it's going to help with the New York sour part at the end. So again, always use your egg white last. You don't want it sitting in your cocktail shaker with that citrus and alcohol sitting on top of it, because that's just gonna slightly cook your egg. You always want it as fresh as possible. And make sure, if you don't have confidence, crack it into the side tin that you don't have any ingredients in, just in case you break a shell or you drop a little bit of the yolk in there. So 1 egg white. All right, we are all set to dry shake our cocktail. Now that means we're shaking it without ice. Now what this is gonna do is create a little bit of frothiness for your egg whites without the ice kind of damaging them a little too soon. So again, put your shaker tin together. Make sure you hold on tight because you don't want this popping open, and give it a good shake for about 7 to 10 seconds. All right, we're gonna add ice and do that all over again, shaking for at least 10 seconds. Make sure to hold on tight. Now typically, my personal preference, I like to serve any egg white cocktail straight up. But for this one, I'm gonna make an exception because I have a beautiful big piece of ice that I'm gonna strain the cocktail over, and it won't dilute the cocktail too much because it is so big and dense. But again, this is a personal preference, so if you do like ice in your sours, feel free to load up your glass. Now I'm ready to fine strain my cocktail over this big piece of ice. Now I'm gonna do this really nice and slow so that the egg whites have a little bit of time to settle gradually as I pour the cocktail. Now if you wanted to drink this just as a whiskey sour variation, you'd be ready to serve it. But we're gonna take it into that New York sour avenue and add a touch of red wine as a float on top. But of course, we're gonna change up that red wine just slightly, and we're gonna pour a layer of Lambrusco over the top. If you're not familiar with Lambrusco, it is a red sparkling wine. It is absolutely delicious on its own, but it's really gonna go nice in our Sangria Sour. Now you wanna pour this nice and slow because it does have some effervescence to it. You don't want it to overflow in your glass. The best way to do this is to take a spoon and just pour it over the back side of it. You can use a regular kitchen spoon. I'm just using my stir spoon here. But again, just lean it up against the side of the glass here and just pour a little bit of your Lambrusco right along the back edge. And now to finish it completely, just a twist of lemon over the top. Now doesn't that look delicious? That whiskey sour coming through the Lambrusco is gonna be amazing. And there we have it, our Sangria Sour. Cheers! As always, remember to hit like, subscribe, and follow for more drinks here on Likeable Cocktails.